This is the video discussion for Module 2 entitled Basic Switch and Device Configuration. In this module, we'll look into the Cisco IOS. We'll explain how to navigate Cisco IOS using the Packet Tracer software, describes the command structure of the iOS. We'll configure Cisco IOS device using CLI, and we'll use IOS command to save the running config, explain also devices communicate across network media, configure a host device IP with an IP add, and verify connectivity between two end devices. So I'll start directly here. We'll be using this Packet Tracer over here, this simulation software developed by Cisco. So we'll configure your device. So this is our work area. This is our dashboard over here. And so let's choose so we have a switch here, then we have a router. These are the different models that the router has. On the other hand here, these are the different models of the switch. Let's choose this one, a 2960 switch, and let's choose one router, this 2901. Okay, let's also choose computers here. Say let's choose two computers over here. So 1 and 2. So first thing we need to do is to be familiar with the iOS. In order for us to configure these devices, for us to have access to the iOS, we need to have a console. So this lightning here represents the cable. So and this is the console cable. So we connect a computer, the serial port RS232, going to the console port of the switch or of the router. So the switch and the router has the same iOS environment. And then we go to the computer, desktop, and then we use this terminal. This represents the hyperterminal or PuTTY, a terminal emulation software. We click that and then OK. And then here we have the iOS environment. So now we have access to the operating system of our switch in this case, which is iOS. The turn is enter. So this one, we call this as the user mode. Okay. So this is the commands. This is the structure of the command that the iOS has. So it starts with the user mode. User mode has a sided caret. So there's a hierarchy of this mode, okay, of this iOS mode. So for us to move on to the next in the hierarchy, we type enable. So for us to reach the privilege exec mode, okay. So most of the commands are done in the global configuration mode. For us to go there, we type configure terminal. Configure terminal. Okay, and there we reach the global configuration mode. For us to see commands in each of the mode, we type question mark. Okay, so like in here, these are the different commands that the global configuration mode has. If we see a more, we press the space bar. Okay, so let's do the basic command. First is the host name. So to configure the host name, to set the name of this device, so host name and then say the name of the device. Like in this case, say S1. And then a couple of passwords needs to be set. First is the privilege. To secure the privilege mode, we type enable secret and then the password, say Cisco. We may also secure the console port. To secure that, we type linecon 0 password and then the password, say class and then login. And then next is to secure the line VTY for the remote access for the telnet command. So we first type exit and we type line VTY space 0 space 4 password and then the password, say class and then login. Okay, and then exit. So these are the three basic password we need to set in our device. The enable secret, the line con, and the line VTY. So next we set banner. To set a banner is banner MOTD. Then say a character, say hashtag, and then say we type authorized access only. This usually appears upon entering the device. Enter. So let's try. So we type exit and exit to go back to the previous mode. And if I press enter, if you notice there's this authorized access only, which is the banner we've set. There's already a password being asked. So the first password that you see is the linecon 0. So what we type here is class. Enter. And then again, we type enable. There are shortcuts, like for enable, shortcut is CN. And if you notice, there's already password being asked. And that is the for enable secret. So like in this case, it's Cisco. So we type Cisco. And there, okay, we now are in the privilege mode. Okay, so let's have a couple of configuration with our physical like key connections to our topology here. So let's connect our PC fast Ethernet going to the any fast Ethernet port that the switch has. So we use a straight through if we were to connect PC to a switch. If we were to connect switch to a router, still straight through, any fast Ethernet or the network port going to the G00 port of the router. If we were to set up an IP address here for us to establish a network, we go to the IP config, okay, and then we set up here an IP ad. Say I'll set 192.168.10. Say 2, okay, and then let's use the default subnet mask. Okay, later I will assign an IP ad here in the G0 of the router. Say I will assign 192.168.10.1, okay, /24. I'll have a more detailed discussion on the IP addressing in one of the chapters. For now, our agenda is only for the assignment. If there is a router in the topology, you need to set an IP address here in the default gateway. The default gateway is the router. Whatever in IP ad you assign in the LAN interface of the router, that is a default gateway here in the PC. So like in this case is 192.168.10.1, okay, and then close. So we do that here also. So again, desktop and then IP config. We set up an IP ad 192, say 168, 192.168.10, say that 5 this time. Okay, there. Okay, there are structures in the IP version 4, like part, there's a part where it should be same. Like in this case, the first three, the last number should be different. We'll cover that in one of the chapters, around chapter 9 or 10. So now I've already set up an IP ad in the PC. Actually, these two computers can connect already. Okay, so the test command to check is ping. So say we ping. I think our assignment for PC1 is 192.168.10.5. And if you notice, there's a reply, which means that PC0 can connect to PC1. And then we need to configure this interface over here. So answer here, this indicates that there are no safe configurations. So we type no. And then again, enable, and then conf t for that's the shortcut for the configure terminal. Again, we set host name, say R1, then the enable secret. Let's do first the basic config. Okay, if you still remember. So line con 0 and then password. So shortcut for password is pass, say class, and then login, type exit, then line vty04. Okay, if you notice in here, no, if you have mistype a wrong, if you have a wrong spelling, the iOS can recognize that. Okay, so there's like a caret here that indicates which part that is wrong. So then just press the arrow up for you to display the previous command. So there, and then password, say class, and then login. And then we are to set up an IP address in the G00 here. So to do that, we type interface and then G00 and then the address command and then 192.168.10.1, then space 255.255.255.0, that's the subnet mask, and we type no shutdown. Okay, enter. Okay, now we already assigned an IP address here. Okay, so we expect that the computers can connect to the router. Okay, there is an orange here. For that to turn into green, just press this fast forward. Okay, so let's try. So we go to the command prompt, and this time we ping the router. So the router is 10.1. Enter, and there's a reply. Okay, the orange that you see in the switch, you will discuss that in Cisco 3. It's a standard that the switch needs to undergo that process. So if it's orange, it's still, you cannot still have any connections yet. So it needs like the LED should turn into green for that to have a fully functioning connection. So there, I've already made my configuration here. And last in my agenda is to save. If you were to save your config, the command is copy running dash config space startup dash config. We are actually in the RAM, so running config is the RAM. If you were to save it, you have to save it in the NVRAM. That's the permanent memory NVRAM, and that's the startup config. And then you do it in the privilege mode. Press enter and then enter, and there it's already saved. Let's say we do that again in the switch. You can also access the CLI by just clicking the device, and then you go to CLI and press enter. So again, shortcut for copy running config startup config is copy run start. Enter, enter. Then that's it. So that's for this module. I have prepared a much detailed discussion. Find this quick because I had to like shorten this for like around 10 minutes. But I have prepared a much longer, much detailed discussion. Hope you watch the other video for this chapter. So as a summary, um, in this module, all end devices and network devices require an operating system. For Cisco network devices, we have the iOS. So the Cisco iOS software separates the management access into the following two command modes, the user exec and the privilege exec mode. The global configuration mode is accessed before other specific configuration mode. Each iOS command has a specific format or syntax and can only be executed in the appropriate mode. And then the basic device configuration we've explored are hostname, passwords, banner, to name some. And then um, to store, we have the startup config. And we've also used the copy running config startup config, right? And IP addresses enable devices to locate one another and establish end-to-end communication on the internet, and end device on on a network must be configured with an IP address. And this ends this discussion. I'd like to thank you for listening. Keep safe, and together we learn as one.